A diplomatic crisis is shaking the Arab world. A rift between Saudi Arabia and its tiny neighbor to the east, Qatar, goes back decades, but recently reached a boiling point. In 2017, Saudi Arabia and other Sunni Arab nations cut all diplomatic relations with Qatar. The nations, led by the Saudis, claim Qatar as a supporter of terrorist groups in the region and has repeatedly interjected itself into their internal relations. But what started this recent rift between Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and why do the countries have such a complicated relationship? The tensions go back decades, when Qatar declared independence from Britain in 1971. After becoming a state, Qatar and Saudi Arabia had a long-standing border dispute that was only settled in 2001. But more importantly, one key source of conflict between the countries was the launching of satellite TV network Al Jazeera in 1996. Although it was funded by Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, the former Emir of Qatar, the network was established as an independent news channel in the Middle East. The Saudis and other governments see Al Jazeera's reporting as a source of politically motivated instability in the region. This fear among Arab governments became a reality in 2011 with the beginning of the Arab Spring. The movement was a wave of mass political protests in the region that called for government reforms and longtime dictators to step down. Saudi Arabia was also not immune to such protests. A small region in Saudi Arabia's east, called Qatif, has experienced mass unrest over the last few decades. Qatif is a primarily Shia region in the Sunni country that has been violently suppressed, especially in the wake of recent protests. The Arab Spring, which was widely reported on Al Jazeera during the time and supported by the government of Qatar, led to the ousting of multiple leaders in the region. Tunisia's president fled his country and sought safe haven in Saudi Arabia. Egypt's president stepped down from power. Yemen's president was injured in an attack and sought treatment in Saudi Arabia before returning to Yemen only to step down from power. And Libya's president was captured and killed by rebel fighters in his hometown. All of these power shifts in the Middle East happened within just 1 year. Regional leaders who remained in power or gained power shortly after the protests have blamed Qatar for supporting a number of Islamist groups who took part in the protests. Qatar's close ties to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and its affiliates throughout the region are a particular area of concern for the bloc of nations. While some see the Brotherhood as a legitimate political movement, a number of these countries consider it to be a terrorist organization due to the group's desire to overthrow most governments and establish an Islamic state under its leadership. Because of this, most of the countries in the region have harshly cracked down on the group. Qatar's support for the Brotherhood is a primary reason behind the Sunni nations' claim that Qatar supports terrorism. Another point of tension between the two nations is Qatar's growing cooperation with Saudi Arabia's primary regional enemy, Iran. Qatar is one of the richest nations on earth per capita due to it being the largest exporter of liquefied gas. Its vast oil resources come from the South Pars or North Dome gas field in the Persian Gulf, which it shares with Iran. But Qatar's relationship with its Persian neighbor has also been tumultuous. In 2016, Qatar recalled its ambassador to Iran after a Saudi Arabian diplomatic mission was attacked by Iranian protesters. The diplomatic strain lasted for over 20 months, but following the Saudi-led blockade on Qatar, the nation announced it would restore full relations with Iran, further angering the Saudis. This brings us back to the current political stalemate between Saudi Arabia and Qatar. While the blockade seems to place enormous pressure on Qatar, some analysts say that the current crisis might only backfire on the Sunni coalition, pushing Qatar to further broker alliances with Iran, Turkey, and even Russia. But although Qatar relies so much on Saudi Arabia, it certainly stands unique as a self-sufficient, wealthy, and powerful state. To learn just how powerful it is, check out this video right here. Thanks for checking out NowThis World, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more episodes like this every week.